With the Chicago Bears recently extending TJ Edwards, we're going to talk about 5 Chicago Bears that could be getting extensions over the course of the season. We're also going to look at Dan Roushar, the line coach for the Chicago Bears, comments on Will Campbell and his arm length, and look at some of the best safeties in this draft for the Chicago Bears. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Sarah Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And I want to start off with this. TJ Edwards got his extension this week, and I want to look at other Chicago Bears that could be in line for a contract extension for the Chicago Bears next. Now, these are different scenarios for it. There's going to be one player here at the bottom of this that I think a lot of people are not going to agree with. But I want to get into the players that could. 3 players that could get contract extensions with the Chicago Bears this upcoming season. And the first one I want to talk about is Joe Thuney, right? Now, we have not heard much about Joe Thuney possibly getting a contract extension. Jonah Jackson, Kyler Gordon, and TJ Edwards have all gotten their contract extensions already. But when you look at Thuney and what he is as a veteran piece, when you look at his age and things like that, I do think that it could be a risk if you do end up extending Joe Thuney. But I do think the Bears are going to, want to evaluate, right? And if Thuney plays pretty well for the Chicago Bears, I do think that there's a chance that he gets a contract extension, whether it's during the season or at the end of the season. I think that that's an option there for him. And it's one that could eventually make some sense for the Bears, depending on having that consistent veteran around. Right now, even if the Bears do draft a guard next year, hell, even in this draft, get a guard that could eventually take over as a starter there. Maybe that is Kieran Amagaje, who can still play guard and tackle. There's still been some back and forth on what his position could be. That option still is out there for the team to potentially give Joe Thuney a contract extension. I think, like I said, I think it comes down to his performance overall, how they feel about their ability to replace whatever he brings to this team. But I do think that there is that opportunity for him to earn a contract extension for sure for the Chicago Bears. And I think it would make a lot of sense in different areas for the Bears, right? It just depends on what else he brings to the table in a case like that. But I do think Joe Thuney is on board and has a chance of owning the contract extension for the Chicago Bears. Another veteran that I'm going to go to that I think it comes down to a few things, right? And that is Kevin Byard, another veteran, 32 years old, but one that has come in his first season with the Chicago Bears and played amazingly well. Now, I think either way, the Bears do need to draft a safety, but if the Bears draft a safety, which I got a list of safeties that I think the Chicago Bears should draft, or that should be on the board, or the Bears board for the draft. Even if you do draft another safety, and whether it's to replace Kevin Byard or it's to replace Jaquan Brisker, I think that Kevin Byard has a chance of getting an extension here with the Chicago Bears. Now, I don't think that it's going to be as lucrative as like a TJ Edwards or a Jonah Jackson or anything like that. He's earning $8.5 million here on the last year of his deal. But if you draft a safety that you want to give another year for, right? Or if let's say you draft that safety this year and Jaquan Brisker looks fairly healthy, but you want to keep Kevin Byard on as a potential, just a break glass in case of emergency, as you make sure Jaquan Brisker is going to stay healthy, which we'll talk about him a little bit on this list as well. I think Kevin Byard has that opportunity to potentially earn a contract extension with the Chicago Bears as well. The next guy is his mate in that backfield, and that is Jaquan Brisker. Jaquan Brisker is an interesting scenario for the Bears, right? Because when he's on the court, on the field, I should say, and healthy, he brings just about everything you want, right? He's a leader in that locker room as well. He's been a dog at times for the Chicago Bears, but it's just been his health. The health is the one thing that you cannot bet on with Jaquan Brisker as of yet. And I do think either way it's going to be a risk for the Chicago Bears. Jaquan Brisker can play all 17 games this season. I think the Bears, looking at how Ryan Poles has handled some things, are still going to have a little bit of trepidation when it comes to potentially extending Jaquan Brisker. But I do think that he has that opportunity if he does stay healthy, has a performance on the field that we're used to with the Bears. again, the last injury wasn't really on him, right? It wasn't really on him and anything that he did necessarily. It was more so just, his body failing on him. So I do think he's going to have that opportunity to try to get a contract extension with the Bears. And I think it'll be a smart one to try to get him locked in if he stays healthy this year. Now, for him, it's probably not going to come into the offseason. I don't know if he can do anything during training camp or anything to get himself to a place where they feel comfortable giving him a contract extension before the season starts. But I think Jaquan Brisker is at that place where a contract extension could be on board or in line for Jaquan Brisker. He's got to keep his ass healthy, right? The next guy up, and I think this one is the biggest long shot of all of these, is Braxton Jones. I know that we talk a lot about Braxton as being a question mark, and he is a huge question mark. He's been perfectly adequate as a starter. I think that's a way to look at him, right? The position is a huge position of importance, though. And here's the thing. I've said it before. For Braxton Jones to get a contract extension with the Bears, I think that means that he's going to not only have to come back off from injury, he's going to have a Pro Bowl level season, right? Because, and again, that's not necessarily just to knock him and his skills. There is some of that in there. But I think also it just comes down to the way that it's things are shaping up, right? You can replace Braxton Jones in next year's draft. You can get your replacement for Braxton Jones in this year's draft. And I don't think Braxton has shown anything to where the contract that he's probably going to want and the contract that starting caliber tackles give that value is going to be there. So, but we'll see, right? It would be remiss for me to say there's no chance of him getting a contract extension. I just don't think that those chances are very high. But, he comes in here, he does the work. I do think that there's a possibility that he could end up getting that extension from the Bears. And maybe the Bears double down on that. And whether he's a depth piece or whatever else happens going forward, we shall see what happens there. But let me know what you guys think. Any other Bears that you think do have a chance to get a contract extension with this team between now and the start of next season? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Now, I said I was going to talk a little bit about safeties, and I do want to do that. Of course, we're just a little while away from the draft, right? And I've talked about a lot of positions for the Bears and the best players at that position. And I think in this one, right, when you look at the safety position for the Bears, it is one that I have said that is a need literally since the start of the season, right? And I think when you look at it, man, there are a couple of safeties here, right? First up, Malachi Starks. He's the best safety in the draft. Now, because of that, I do think that he's going to go in the first round where unless the Bears trade back into, he's just not going to be at that spot. I would love Malachi Starks on the Chicago Bears. I think he's somebody that, in the passing attack, he's extremely well. He had 77 total tackles, over that where he did last year as well. Like 1 interception, 3 pass breakups. Like the guy is a really good safety, but that's probably why he's not going to be there, right? They wouldn't have to draft him 10th overall for him to get there or trade back into the draft. And I just don't see that happening for the safety position, right? Next one, Nick Imawari. And this is the guy out of South Carolina. This is a guy that I do think could be there potentially in the beginning of the second round, right? But more than likely, he's going to go towards the 20s in that first round, or a team wants to really reach on him. So I don't think that he's going to be on the board for the Bears either, even though I do think he's damn good and would be amazing in the Chicago Bears. But let's get into the players that actually are going to go in day 2 for the Bears. Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. 82 tackles, 6 interceptions, 10 pass breakups in 16 games with the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame last year. This is a guy that, he's a ball hawk. He has everything, those 6 interceptions. He has everything that Dennis Allen and the Bears have liked at the safety position. Xavier Watts is an absolute dog. And because he's there on day 2, he has to be one of the best options there for the Chicago Bears as well. And I think you do great with the Chicago Bears. Next up, Andrew Makuba out of Texas. This is a guy who's going to probably be in the 3rd round, right? And the Bears wanted to get him. They can. I love this guy. I think when you look at him last season, 69 total tackles, 5 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble. Makuba is an amazing guy. He's a senior. He's a guy that brings a lot for potentially for the Chicago Bears. And in a draft where safety isn't necessarily the deepest draft position, if the Bears do want a safety, they're going to have to be aggressive about going out there and getting one, right? But then let's get to my favorite prospect at safety in this draft for the Bears, and that's Billy Bowman Jr. out of Oklahoma. 5'10", 200 pounds, 34 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, 3 pass breakups last season. This guy is an absolute ball hawk. He's a hard hitter. I love his potential under Dennis Allen being inside the box, outside the box. 55 total tackles last year. Senior as well. Like, I think this guy brings just about everything you could want at a safety position. There's some questions about the size at 5'10". I'm not too worried about it in watching him play football, but this is a guy that I would absolutely love to have on the board for the Chicago Bears. I was one of the first guys to bring him up. I think you can get him late, way later in the draft, and I think he can make a whole lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what the Bears could do. But I want to get, lastly, before we get into the mailbag, I want to get into comments from Dan Roushar in regards to Will Campbell and his arm length. What I have said has been a ridiculous thing that people have focused on in this draft. He said this. Here's what I think. I watched a lot. I'm sure we're even referencing a guy like Will Campbell. So the measurables are the measurable. But when the film goes on, you don't see short arms. You see a very accomplished left tackle that has exceptional balance, is exceptional hand placement. He knows how to use the tools that he's been given, and he has done it at a high level from early in his career to today. So as a coach, you're watching that, and all you can do is elevate the play, and he gets high marks from us. Keep in mind, Will Campbell was the guy that was on the screen when that leak came out of that video of the Chicago Bears talking about guys at the draft, and Ryan Poles said number 1 or number 2. Will Campbell would be an absolute beast for the Chicago Bears. And people making so much over his arm length, I think they're going to be very surprised. The arm length don't matter. This is a guy that's going to be amazing. He's only given up 4 sacks in 2,548 snaps. And that's in the SEC. Get Will Campbell on my team if he's there at number 10. I think he finishes off and rounds out that overhaul that the Chicago Bears have done and on the offensive line this offseason. Get Will Campbell on my team ASAP. But with that said, it is mailbag day, so we're going to get into these voicemails ASAP. This first voicemail, this one's from Buck.
Hello, this is Buck again. Good afternoon, Chicago Bears Central. I'd like to say that being number 1 as far as the podcast is concerned is like taking the North. You know, it takes a lot of hard work and effort, and y'all putting that in. Keep up the good work. What I wanted to talk about was, I'm going to use this term, stopgaps. Now, what is a stopgap? Well, a stopgap is a temporary way of dealing with a problem or solving a need. Now, the majority of our players on our squad right now, and I hear Bobby talk about this a lot because he's in harmony with my way of thinking, you know, building from the draft. He said, don't fall in love with a lot of these players because they ain't going to be around. See, when you look at the expiring contracts, you know, a lot of these players that have contracts expire in 2026, they out of there. Braxton Jones, adios, because it's going to cost a lot of money to pay these free agents. Now, what kind of identifying our stopgaps, you know? Now, who are the stopgaps on the Chicago Bears that is worth considering? Because that has a lot to do with who we going to draft. You know, Tremaine Edmonds, stopgap. DeAndre Swift, stopgap. Kevin Byard, stopgap. Roschon Johnson, Brisker, stopgap. Noah Fool. So the names go on and on. Because the Bears not going to pay these guys. You know, they're going to be up from the draft. That means that a large percentage of our players should and will be on the rookie contracts. And so, like I agree with Bobby. Bobby said, don't be falling in love with these players because what's love got to do with it? I like to say, Chicago Bears, stay up and bear down. Talk to you guys later.
The only player I disagree with what you labeled as a stopgap is Jaquan Brisker. I don't think Jaquan Brisker is a stopgap. Now, I do think that he is a risk because of the injury history, right? And I think that's a part. But if somebody told you that Jaquan Brisker would be healthy for the rest of his career, that man's not a stopgap. That man's part of your core, right? And so that's what the Bears are going to have to weigh when it comes down to Jaquan Brisker. But other than that, I agree with what you said. A lot of these players are stopgaps as far as you got to, like, here's the thing, right? Identifying who to keep and who to move on from, and doing that at the right time and replacing them with whether rookies or more cost-effective veterans or whatever it is key to keeping your team at a playoff level and getting to a playoff level, right? Not having bad money on your books, especially bad long-term money, right? Not having immovable contracts, right? Those type of things. Those are important as you're building your team. And that's what Ryan Poles' job is going to do, especially as his team shifts. It's geared to focus on competition, right? So I do think there are a lot of players on this team that you can like. That could be good players. That could be really solid players for you. But you really have to look at how many of those players are really going to be part of your long-term future, right? How many of those players can you move, or is it the right time to move on from? Timing those things is really important. And that's what Ryan Poles has to be able to do. That's what any front office has to be able to evaluate, especially as you continue to build out a team. So we'll see if Ryan Poles can do that at a consistent level. Great voicemail there, Buck. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Micho.
What's going on, Chicago Bears Central? Bobby Hayes, C-Dub, Big Cam, Steve, what's cracking? It's your boy, Big Micho. It's been a while. What up, Charlie Wally? I'm back. Just trying to leave a voicemail for y'all, man. I just seen something to me. The Bears, we need Jeanty. If we get Jeanty, it opens up a whole nother frame for our wide receivers and what Ben Johnson is trying to do. I can see the picture, man. That person right there, Jeanty, even though he is the best running back in the draft, we need him. Mark my words, the Bears will either move up to get him. If he flies past the Raiders, we getting Jeanty. I think that we're getting Jeanty. I think that he is the key to open up the offense to get everything going. I think the Bears are really going to cook this year. I'm not too high, not too low. I'm right in the middle. But I feel something brewing right now, and I think Ben Johnson is the key that we need to open up everything that we got coming to us in front of us, guys. As we know, Kyler just got the payday. If Brisker stay healthy this whole season, I can see him getting his payday at the end of the year. But another player I know that's up to get their payday, homegrown, TJ Edwards, bro. He next. He's deserving of it. To me, TJ was the best player that we had on defense last year. He showed his his hometown roots. And he balled out. We just need more of that, and I think it's going to be contagious to the other defense end. I think we're in for something special. I'm not going to put a number on it or anything, but the Bears are about to cook this year, and we're about to really be excited through the season, not just right off bat. But y'all tell me what y'all think about that, man. It's been a while. I appreciate y'all for taking my phone call and voicemail message up in there. But y'all know what it is, man. Chi-Town up and bear down on a pack of for life.
Saying we need Jeanty, and right, I've said this before, this may be just my very literal brain at times, but when you say you need somebody, that means that that's the only possible person that can get you the results that you need, and that's just not correct. And when you start looking at players as needs when they're not, and you start focusing on just one player that can fit, that's where you start spinning your wheels and not really getting anywhere. That's where you lose assets. That's where you lose opportunities. That's where you lose on things at. So Jeanty is amazing, make no mistake about it, but he's not the only player that can help solve what the Chicago Bears have going on and what their need is at the running back position. I disagree with that, right? So I think that that's a part that you have to look at. You can't just turn in and get narrow-sided, especially in this draft where there are so many quality running backs that can be gotten at different levels of this draft. I just can't say that Jeanty is the only player that can fill that. Now, if he falls to Bears at 10 and they identify him as the player that they want to go out there and get that they can't miss on, great. I'm not knocking Jeanty at all. I'm just saying that you can't just zero in on Jeanty as being the only player to fill your running back needs. That's just not true, right? Now, great call on TJ Edwards, though. For those that don't know, he left this voicemail Monday, well before TJ Edwards got extended. So good call there, Micho. Amazing call, actually, to call that signing. And shout out to TJ Edwards for getting paid. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Xavier.
What's going on, guys? This is Xavier calling, man. Man, I just want to speak on the weirdo ass fans and the people like the national media, like Colin Coward, who was like saying like, oh man, Caleb Williams, man, he has to come out blazing in the first 7 games. we got to see is he a franchise quarterback. Bro, this kid is in his second year, and he's on his fourth offensive coordinator. This is unfucking believable. Nobody, I can guarantee you, if you go back throughout the history books, I think it'll be hard to find a quarterback in his second year on his fourth OC, and none of it's his doing. He's done nothing wrong. You know, it's like, bro, he had Shane Waldron, then he had Thomas Brown, and whoever Thomas Brown had under him once he became the head coach last year. Now he has Declan Doyle. And it's like, bro, we got to give him time. Like, I understand. I'm not saying he's absolved of no pressure or none of that. Because, yes, his ass needs to get better. We want to see strides. We want to see him get better. But we also have to be patient and understand, bro. Like, dude, he got sacked the most he's seen Ghost last year. So we got to understand, like, bro, like, we got to make sure that he's mentally okay after what he went through last year. Because the mental part of it is what people don't take into account. Guys get sacked that much and they start getting happy feet, throwing the ball wherever. Hopefully that's not Caleb's case. Hopefully he can bounce back. But let's stop and pump the brakes on all the expectations and give him at least half the season. But that's just how I feel, man. Chicago up there now.
Caleb's rookie season was less than ideal for a few reasons, right? And yeah, it's okay to say that he needs to grow. The thing that I hate is when people are like, oh, you can't just, it's not the offensive line, it's just Caleb. Or even the people who say it's not, Caleb doesn't have to grow, it's just the offensive line. No, the truth is it's both, right? Two things can be true at the same time. He needs to grow. As most second-year quarterbacks do. He's not even close to the finished product that he's going to be as a quarterback in the NFL. I think that's the part that people need to keep an objectivity level about, because Caleb Williams has a lot of room to grow. He has a lot of room to get better on his decision making. He has a lot of room to get better in just certain aspects of the game that make successful quarterbacks. And that's what he'd be the first to tell you that, right? So Caleb absolutely has to grow, and he has things that he needs to get through. And I think that, you draft him because you believe that he's going to be able to get over that hump. And now, as the Bears can continue eliminating some of the other issues around the team, it's going to hopefully put a highlight on Caleb Williams focusing on what he can do to be the best player for himself and for the Chicago Bears. All right, let's move into the next one, man. This one's from Dwayne.
Hey, Mr. Hayes. This is Dwayne out here in El Paso, Texas. A few things I want to hit on if you got a second. First off, I want to say congratulations to Spidey G. He's well worth that slot cornerback contract he got. I think the guy's going to be terrifying in DA's defense, and I think his value's only going to go up from here. So congratulations, Mr. Gordon. I think you're going to be a beast in this defense. And we got to remember, too, that Ben Johnson, he cut DeAndre Swift a few years ago. So we should be looking for a running back. Now, if Jeanty's there at 10, I don't know how you could pass on him. But at the same time, I think a running back is a luxury pick. And I don't think the Bears I don't think they can make a luxury pick right now. Not with the offensive line we have, and I'm happy that Poles finally made some moves. But we got to be honest. I mean, Thuney's a little bit older. Bowman was the best center available, and we got him. But he missed 4 games last year. Jonah Jackson, same thing, potential Pro Bowler, but he missed a few games. Braxton Jones, he just broke his ankle. He might not even be ready for camp. So I think at that number 10 spot, we have to go offensive line or defensive line. I think we need to get a left tackle or defensive end. Let the Raiders take Jeanty at 6 because they're more interested in selling jerseys than winning championships. So I just want to say that I'm also tired of these one-year defensive end we get. We get Yannick Ngakoue, Ian Badejo, Hardy. We need something else on the other side of Montez Sweat. We got to stop with these one-year deal defensive ends, man. So, hey, man, I appreciate your show, man. My wife turned me on, listened to you. I walked in the room one day. I was like, what are you listening to? She said, this is CBC. So, shout out to my wife, Haisha, of 25 years. She adopted my Bears a long time ago. Anytime they get close to Texas, we go. And I ain't going to lie, man, it's been a rough 25 years as a Bear fan for her. She stuck with it. She stuck with me. And, I just want to say CBC up, Bear down. And by the way, Mr. Hayes, they just fired Dan Bernstein over there at 670 the score. The guy's an idiot, man. I think you bring more to the table than half those guys on that radio station. I don't know if that's your thing if you want to apply, man, but I think it'd be great to hear you on the radio, brother. All right, man. This is Dwayne out. Thank you.
The tackle depth in this draft is crazy, right? You have really good tackles. Now, some of those tackles may have to be moved to guards, which what we're talking about, but the Bears just have to make the right decision on their offensive line, whether that's drafting at 10, whether there's drafting later in the draft. You can still get some really damn good tackles in this draft. I think a lot of that depends on how they view Braxton Jones as well, right? That's gonna turn into a key there. The defensive end is a key as well. Like, defensive end is a huge key in this, but I think that and you saying that you can't keep going with these 1-year stopgaps. Listen, they're paying Dayo Odeyingbo $20 million. So no, he's more than just a 1-year player. That shows some sign of actually belief in what he can be for this team, right? And I think also don't overlook Austin Booker, another young player that they drafted that they think very highly of. But you're not paying Dayo Odeyingbo $20 million in 2026, $19.5 million in 2027 just because he's a 1-year guy, right? So I think just because it's not the flashy name on paper. Look at Dayo and what he's done in his per snap production. Look at what Austin Booker and the fact of how high people thought that Austin Booker had one of the biggest upsides in that draft. Just be more patient about it. I think we're going to be fine on the opposite side of Montez Sweat, especially when you add in the added pressure and performance we're going to get on that interior defensive line and having a really good production. There's our productivity from those positions as well there. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're rooted in, but let's just wait and see, man. Let's wait and see. And also, shout out to your wife for being a CBC fan and putting you on. I love it when families watch or listen to us together, and hopefully we continue to deliver really good content for you guys, man. We appreciate that. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Keys.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Keys on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. Hope all is well with you and yours, but let's get to it, man. We are 8 days away from finding out what the Chicago Bears is going to do for the draft. And I don't know, man. It's really, you know how people say you can read the tea leaves and everything? Like last year, we could see that they were going to draft Caleb. It's really an indecisive thing, bro. Ultimately, I think with the recent visits of the running backs coming in, which I'm shocked that Quinshon Judkins didn't come in like that, but I know they met with him a couple times at the Combine and, of course, the Pro Day, being there, seeing him and Travion. It's something because it just makes me think like, maybe Quinshon Judkins may not be their type of back that they're looking for to do things with. And, you know, having Omarion Hampton and Caleb Johnson, who are two really good backs as well, come in and visit, you know. It even makes me think, too, like, hey, would it be something where on the draft that we possibly draft both those guys? I know that's not going to happen, but, like, it's always a thought. You never know with these people. Could it be something where they trade Swift and Rojo or, you know, one of those guys and, hey, we're going to go with these two young backs who may be better than the two guys we had. We need to improve this room overall, and why not do that? But ultimately, for me, what I would want to see happen is them get better in the trenches and keep building, because in that second round, they do have those picks. I also could see where they could trade up and trade back. It's a lot of scenarios, man, but I know for me and you guys, I know y'all ready for this to hurry up and end, because I don't, you know, I'm glad it's only 7 days or 8 days left, because if it was a whole another week behind this, I'd probably lose my mind. I would love to see Mike Green be here too, but then another guy who I think getting talked about enough is probably Harold Fanning. But if Derek Harmon, I believe his name is, from Oregon, he would probably be a good defensive lineman. But as always, guys, let me know what you think. As always, shout y'all up, bear down.
A little while away from the draft, man. A little while away from the draft. All the options are open for the Chicago Bears. And like I've said many times, that's by the work that this front office, that this team has done in the offseason. And I think that this is going to be a really good, eye-opening draft. Now, I doubt that they draft 2 running backs in the draft. They're more than likely not going to do that. I don't see that happening. But this is a definitely a deep talent at the running back position in this draft. And I hope the Chicago Bears continue to find that talent. But running back, they're going to get. You know, and you know, we're gonna find our guys in this draft. I have very good confidence that we're gonna have guys at where our picks are. They're gonna help this Bears team for years and years to come. At least I hope so. But we'll be having our live draft coverage, so make sure you guys stay in tune with us for that. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at Shine Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. You can leave us if you guys want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag. The number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.